America, a nation founded on ideals of liberty, justice, and the pursuit of happiness. But it's also a nation grappling with a deeply divisive issue: gun control. On one side, we have those who believe that stricter gun control laws are essential for public safety. They argue that reducing access to firearms, particularly high-powered weapons, can prevent mass shootings and save lives. On the other side, we have those who vehemently defend their Second Amendment rights, viewing any attempt at gun control as an infringement on their freedom. This debate is not new. It's a conversation that has been going on for decades, often reignited by horrific tragedies. The attempted shooting of Donald Trump in July 2024, where an individual used an AR-15 style rifle, is just one recent example that has reignited the debate over gun control. At the heart of this debate lies the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution, which states, "A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, shall not be infringed." This seemingly straightforward statement has been the subject of intense legal and political debate for centuries. What exactly does it mean to keep and bear arms? Does it guarantee an individual's right to own guns, or is it tied to service in a militia? And what limitations, if any, can be placed on this right? The Supreme Court has weighed in on this issue in several landmark cases. In District of Columbia v. Heller in 2008, the court ruled that the Second Amendment protects an individual's right to possess a firearm unconnected with service in a militia, at least for traditionally lawful purposes, like self-defense within the home. This decision was further reinforced in McDonald v. City of Chicago in 2010, which extended the Second Amendment's protections to state and local governments. However, the court has also recognized that the right to bear arms is not unlimited. In its more recent ruling in New York State Rifle and Pistol Association Inc. v. Bruin in 2022, the court emphasized that any restrictions on gun ownership must be consistent with the historical tradition of firearms regulation in the United States. These rulings have had a significant impact on the gun control debate, providing ammunition to both sides of the argument. The human cost of gun violence in America is staggering. Every year, tens of thousands of lives are cut short by gun violence, leaving behind a trail of grief, trauma, and shattered families. Mass shootings, while horrifying in their scale and impact, represent only a fraction of the gun violence that plagues the country. Beyond the immeasurable human cost, gun violence also carries a hefty economic price tag. According to a 2022 report by Everytown for Gun Safety, gun violence costs the United States an estimated $557 billion each year. This figure encompasses a wide range of expenses, including medical and mental health care, law enforcement and criminal justice costs, lost income, and reduced quality of life for victims and their families. Section 4. The Case for Control, Arguments and Evidence. Proponents of stricter gun control laws argue that such measures are essential for public safety. They point to the alarming rates of gun violence in the United States compared to other developed countries as evidence that something needs to change. They argue that stricter background checks, waiting periods, and bans on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines can help reduce the number of gun-related deaths and injuries. One of the most compelling arguments in favor of gun control is its potential to reduce the number of mass shootings. Studies have shown that states with stricter gun control laws tend to have fewer mass shootings. For example, a 2019 study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association found that states with universal background checks had lower rates of mass shootings. Another argument in favor of gun control is its potential to reduce suicide rates, as firearms are involved in over half of all suicides in the United States. Section 5. The Other Side of the Barrel, Arguments Against Gun Control. Opponents of gun control argue that such measures infringe on the constitutional rights of law-abiding citizens. They contend that the Second Amendment guarantees the right to own guns for self-defense and other lawful purposes, and that any attempt to restrict this right is an overreach of government power. They argue that criminals, by definition, do not obey the law and will always find ways to obtain firearms regardless of gun control laws. One of the most common arguments against gun control is that it would disarm law-abiding citizens and leave them vulnerable to criminals who would still be able to obtain guns illegally. Gun rights advocates argue that responsible gun ownership is a deterrent to crime, and that individuals have the right to protect themselves, their families, and their property. They often cite instances where individuals have used firearms to defend themselves against attackers, as evidence that gun ownership can save lives. Opponents point out that criminals often obtain guns through illegal means, such as straw purchases and theft, and that stricter gun control laws would do little to stop this. They argue that focusing on enforcing existing laws and addressing the root causes of crime, such as poverty, mental health issues, and gang violence, would be more effective in reducing gun violence.